Comedy Mushroom Cole podcast. All right, cool. Now we're working. Now we're playing with fire. We're working with gas here. Audio only this week. What? Can't believe it. Yeah, we had a perfect setup last week, but it's one of those man plans, God laughs kind of situations where we have to do a shoestring budget this week. I even made you can go onto my Instagram stories currently and see the high-end production value that I put on for this podcast. I might actually even make it like the thumbnail for when you download the show. I'm sure we can do that. Maybe I'll do that. But this is a Bedcast. This is the, I think, second official Bedcast since we've been here, so that's good. Girl's in the home office because she's in town today doing her important work. And so we're doing it from the bed, and that's good. That brings a different, more calm down energy to this high energy podcast instead of yelling, which, I mean, again, I don't know if I've ever yelled. I've exclaimed. Oh, I've yelled at people. I've definitely yelled, but mostly in like nonsense arguments. I don't know if I've yelled at somebody specifically for like a real reason. Like, it's always usually just like, shut the fuck up. Bruce Springsteen is overrated, and I'm gonna go on a 45-minute drunk dissertation as to why. So that's the reason why I usually yell is I would need somebody to know that my point about overhyped Democratic propaganda garbage music, the dock workers were supposed to go on strike this week, and I didn't even hear a single Bruce Springsteen song brought up. And I mean, he's supposed to be a worker for the docks, or maybe even Bon Jovi, because Johnny got a job on the docks or whatever that song is, living on a prayer, because the union's been on strike, But I mean, that's where Springsteen usually steps up, is he'll grab, damn it, 2.5 minutes, almost fucking made it. It's real funny because, like, sidebar podcast, on you can, like, the YouTube fucking stats show that people pretty much listen to the first 5 minutes, and it's like, all right, I mean, you kind of got the point, and that's just on the video. I mean, it's fine. I don't have like big production value. That's why I invested in the production value this week, is to maybe keep more eyeballs, keep the eye on the prize here, eye on the ball. Mind game, gotta keep the prize prizing. You gotta look yonder past that great horizon in the sky. You gotta keep it, you gotta point towards the North Star. That one right there, that's the North Star. If I were you, I'd follow it, or any amateur astronomers might notice that that's the North Star, whatever that line from Django is. But no. We are going to start this week's podcast. Sorry if you hear Pete making noise. I had to close the door so it didn't get interrupted by cats. Because we're already doing audio only. The last thing we need is a giant fucking cat attack happening where it didn't work out and fucked up the audio too. We're not doing that. But no, I wanna talk about Tim Walz. That's who I want to talk about. The vice presidential debate was this week, and I didn't watch it. I watched some of the presidential one, because that's the one where it's like, hey, maybe they'll talk about policy and like what they're gonna do in our country to make it better. Instead of just like smiling and dancing, like, because that was fun and that was cute for like the first while when it was like Kamala and Tim Walz, we're gonna be smiling, like at least you'll be happy while the world ends. Like, your rallies don't look like this. Like, and I see people sharing it. And again, this is a pro Kamala Harris podcast, until needed otherwise. Like, I'm more excited to vote for her currently, than I was Hillary Clinton. And I only bring that up as a parallel because those are the only, like, it's getting very similar. But we'll get there. But what I think this is more similar to is like a John McCain versus Barack Obama kind of election. And I don't think either one has the moral fiber of a John McCain or like the swag of an Obama, or like they don't. It's all the worst parts of both of those candidates, like an inexperienced candidate, and then like just a guy that they say is going to ruin the country. Like, imagine being on the wrong side of history in 2007 to 2008 when Obama was running. Like, that's how like the left talks about Trump. And I mean, they have like a better reason to. I don't think Obama's ever been on record saying that this might be this is the last election you'll ever need to vote in if you vote for him. So I mean, it's definitely not on like the same level on that one. But like where I draw the parallels is, and the more I think about it, it's a very like similar to Hillary Clinton. Like, I don't think the Democrats really want to win this election. I think they want Donald Trump to be president. So like they don't have to do anything. 1, 2, they can keep raising money, and 3, they're owned by the same companies that own the Republican Party. So like they don't really lose no matter what. They always win because they can be put in that position of like, we need to raise more money because we can't lose more democracy. And it's like, well, I mean, you can only lose democracy one time. Like you don't lose a little bit of democracy. You either lose it or you don't. But I think Tim Walz is like our Tim Kaine was his name Tim Kaine? Whatever his name was, Kaine, for Hillary. And like the thing that I think that he's actually more like, the reason why I brought up the McCain-Obama election, as I pull down my sign and try not to, my sign is secured up so well. When I had to move it to be better framed in the camera, I pulled off a paint chip off the wall. So that's going to cost like $5 when we move out of this apartment. So I hope you guys understand what I'm going through for you here. But no, I think Tim Walz is the left's Sarah Palin. And before you tell me that doesn't make any sense at all, because he's like experienced and he's not a hot lady from Alaska. Like, when you think about it, he is a candidate who is chosen to balance out like a serious lady who didn't really like have much of a shot if they didn't get like a strong like random white man who like believes in women, which I know that's not Sarah Palin, but like they got a guy from the north, like real folksy, down home, you'd want to have a drink with him. He's a football coach. He like constantly is just out there. Like, he's supposed to be like the curveball, like the fun guy. Like, he's Joe Biden to Barack Obama. He's supposed to be like the different face to like bring in the Midwest and like, hey, maybe you don't really identify with Kamala Harris. You're just like a white dude from the Midwest who wants your white picket fence and your 40 hours a week, maybe a little bit of overtime here and there. You just don't want groceries to be $1 million. And like Tim Dillon calls Tim Walz the funnel cake dad. And that's kind of, I think that he's the left Sarah Palin. Like, I think we just need to start calling him Sarah Palin, Tim Palin, Walzy P, because he constantly does Sarah Palin shit, like where she's like, I can see Russia from my house, like that makes me ready to be a good person in foreign policy. And he's like, yeah, I was in Tiananmen Square when like the uprising happened, and then like the news comes out and they're like, well, actually you were there after that all happened. And he's like, yeah, but like it was the same time. And like just continually stories keep coming out where he's like, oh, I was a football coach. And, like, yes, we're not going to do, like, the right, like, oh, he was a defensive coordinator. Like, that's actually, like, a real football coach. That's an assistant coach. Like, yeah, like, I mean, saying that you're a football coach, you would maybe, like, for people who were, like, ingrained in football, you would want to know what kind of coach. Like, oh, you were the head coach? No, I was a defensive coordinator. Okay, cool. Like, it's not like he was, like, the running backs coach. It's saying that he was a head football coach. Like, defensive coordinator is like adequate. Like, you're not gonna go, like, if you watch like an NFL team, you're gonna be like, oh, that defensive coordinator's great. Like, you get like big credit. Like, Steve Spagnuolo gets like credit when Kansas City wins the Super Bowl because he's like the defensive head coach. And like, if you have an offensive like coordinator that's like your head coach, then they're like the head, like, you know what I mean. He was in charge of the defense. So, like, he deserves that. But, like, it's always just, like, half-truths and, like, little stupid shit like that. And that's just how the Democrats lose elections like this. Like, that's exactly, like, as soon as they switched to Kamala, I feel like they took their foot off the gas. And I feel like we took our foot off the gas as an electorate, like a body. And, I mean, we still don't even know, like, what their policies are. And, like, people bending over backwards online. Like, I saw today, like, it was like a picture of two people getting in a fight at a Trump rally, and it's like, I don't care about policy until her fundraisers start looking like this. And it's like, her fundraisers aren't going to look like that because the people that she's having fundraisers with would never be seen in public. Or like wearing a t-shirt, you know, like they wouldn't be in public. Like, they're going to have private fundraising parties and talk about how they're all going to get over Diddy and selling them out. But like, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the how to lose an election 101. I think I started putting the flag up last week or 2 weeks ago of like, just keep an eye out. Like, it's going to start getting to be like, oh, you know, like, so what if she doesn't really connect with people, like the fake laugh, or like the laughing that she does that's like real crazy and weird. I saw a Hillary Clinton, like one of the people on SNL, god damn it, I should know her name, Amy Poehler, doing Hillary on SNL doing like her unhinged laugh. Like, that's what it's going to age like. That's what like them smiling and dancing is going to be, is like them smiling and dancing to an L. And I mean, great. Like, we're all on we're like I said, we're voting for her. We're all on the right side of history. We believe in hope and change, and like, let's keep everything close to the vest, you know? Like, I mean, we're like, the world's falling apart. We're gonna be stumbling into World War III. Like, Diddy's gonna bring down Hollywood. Fucking, we got hurricanes taking out like just inland states now, like Asheville, North Carolina. You might say that's not on the ocean. You're right, that's not on the ocean. But maybe the most affected by a hurricane in the history of ever. We got Iran just like blatantly firing missiles into Israel just like deciding that they can take over whatever country they want to over there. And like, again, yeah, people have fucked with them their entire life, but like, I mean, you're not helping your case at all when you're fucking blowing up beepers and hurting random people. You're just like taking over Gaza for absolutely no reason. Like, oh, October 6th or whatever. Yeah, like, cool. Or October 4th, whatever it was. Like, yeah, sure, you did it. They should not have done that, but like, you should have also not been fucking with them since like the 60s. You know, like, it all comes back to like, yeah, you have to go like 50 years back in time, but like, you can see where they kind of started shit, and it's because they're like the little brother to fucking the US, just like giving them money. And like, fucking Russia and Ukraine's still happening. Like, you haven't heard about that much. Fucking China is like starting shit all the time. So I mean, it's like, the world's in like a weird spot, but like, we're just supposed to be like, yeah, Kamala's great, and fucking Tim Palin over there is like getting us through it, when he can't even like fucking answer a question right. And like, how many times, like, his excuse was like, what's the line? Like, I'm just a knucklehead. Tim Walz Tiananmen. I don't need the Reddit, but like, I don't know. He just like fucking, where's the line? he misspoke. I mean, how many times does he need to fucking misspeak? And I mean, it wasn't recently, but like it was 2019, so it was like long enough ago. Yeah, he was in Nebraska during that. What is the quote? Who called himself a knucklehead at times while answering questions. Like, that's not the fucking, that's what you don't want to hear. Like, you're a knuckle, like, you can't even answer questions that you know are coming. And, like, I don't know, he got the dates wrong when claiming he was Hong Kong through the protests. And, like, yeah, it's wild. Like, it's not, it doesn't even make sense. Like, and either he's just like got a compulsion for like lying all the time. Like, he said he misspoke and called himself a knucklehead while answering questions. So like, he either keeps lying to make it seem better, to like make himself like, what's wrong with being like, hey, I'm the folksy fucking, like, you got the reason, you're there. Like, Kamala being president, fine, she makes sense, she seems presidential, she seems like she could be like fucking Pfizer and Google and Meta and fucking JP Morgan Chase, like all of those companies. She seems like a very good representative for all of them, for our country, when we go overseas and are like, hey, we're gonna let these massive corporations get away with whatever they want, and then we're gonna lie to our citizenry and make them super worried about things that like overall don't care, or like that don't matter, like abortion and trans rights and all those things. They do matter, but when you're running like a global empire, those are things to distract you from, like, I don't know, monetary policy, or fucking how you're going to like run the judicial, like who you're going to put up for like cabinet spots, or like what the shape of everything's going to be. Like, oh, you're going to tax rich people more, let me see the plan. Like, they've done nothing. Like, they haven't come out with a plan for anything. How are you going to handle the war, like the World War III that's coming up? Like, do we need to like start practicing our fucking getting into nuclear fallout shelters now? Should I get like how seriously should I take life over the next 4 years? Because like, if it's going to be World War III and like bombs are going to drop, like I live in one of the biggest cities in the world now, like that's good. So like, hopefully when they drop the bomb, like I'm not in like the post bomb world. Like, I'll be vaporized if they hit like the South Loop or something, hopefully. Hopefully like the lake won't get in the way of it too much. But, like, I would like to know what you're going to do about that. How you're going to handle fucking China. Like, how you're going to handle all of this shit. Like, because people are going to test you. People are going to go after you. Like, and I mean, it's not like we've had, like, women leaders, it's not like just the woman thing. But, like, being the first woman. Like, people are, in the U.S., like, people are going to come out here and try to fuck with you to see what you're going to do. And, I mean, cool, whatever. Like, I mean, Joe Biden got us out of fucking Afghanistan. That was cool, but like, shit's popping off there again. So it's like, what are we gonna do about everything? And it's like, don't worry about it. Democracy's at stake. Just vote for us and we'll fucking smile our way into the fucking Oval Office. And I don't think that that's the way that we should be doing things. And that's kind of how we lost in 2016. And I say we because everybody lost in 2016. So, like, again, just don't be surprised when it happens this time. Like, we're not going to do it. Just miss me with all of that. And don't take it out on other people that you know and, like, are in your town and stuff. Like, at this point, now we know. It's been 8 years. We know who the racist people in our lives are. We understand who's, like, we understand who and why they're voting for Trump, but, like, I don't know, like, big businesses are going to vote for him and, like, put money behind him because, like, the Democrats always seem like they're going to do that. But, like, I don't think this is one. Like, Kamala's going to do a speech in Wisconsin, I believe today or this weekend, where the Republican Party was created in Wisconsin in, like, 1854 or whatever the fuck it was. I don't remember the exact year. But, like, she's doing a speech there to be, like, to go over, like, the history of Republican values and be like, Donald Trump's not one of you, I'm one of you. And you're like, okay, well, how about the left? Like, I understand trying to keep him out of there, but it'd be nice to have, like, a liberal candidate. Like, oh, you're fine with, like, reasonable abortion rights and, like, gay people are cool to you. Like, yeah, that's a Republican Party thing right now. Like, there's 5 people who think like late term, like that abortions aren't good. Like, you're running as a Republican candidate. Like, we don't have a Democrat. We don't have a liberal candidate. Like, oh, Tim Walz put tampons in the boys' bathroom. Like, congrats. Like, that's raising awareness if I've ever seen it. Like, that's not helpful to most people. Like, it makes zero sense. And it's getting to the point where it's like, all right, we can't really ignore it anymore. It's October 4th. Like, the election's in basically a month. I think it is in a month and a day. Like, they got to tighten this shit down. And I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath for it. Yeah, a month and a day. Like, I'm not going to hold my breath for it to happen. Like, there's no way that this ends up well. There's no, like, it's not like we're going to end up, anything's going to get better in the next 4 to 8 years. Like, we're not, like, no matter who's president, a world war is going to happen, and we're going to get dragged into it because, like, we supply weapons to every single person on every single side. So, like, we got to get behind it, and we have, like, a shitload of debt. So, like, we need to be involved in that. Like, we don't really have, like, our fiscal policy is to get in wars and keep wars going. So, like, we have to be part of World War III. Like, fucking, they're not going to, like, Boeing isn't going to let jetliners falling apart get in the way of them making trillions of dollars off of World War III. Fucking Raytheon is still gonna make missiles to be dropped on everybody. Like, as far as I know, fucking old Dick Cheney's company is still running out there. Like, Halliburton's still gotta fucking be able to go rebuild whatever country we just, like, nuke into oblivion. If it's not us, like, if we're not the one that gets fucked with. And I mean, honestly, it would make sense to hit the Midwest because that's where all of the drinking water is that we would possibly have. But yeah, so I mean, like, even like the dock workers were supposed to strike, what, yesterday or Monday? Or no, it was the beginning of the month, so Tuesday. They were supposed to strike on Tuesday, and like, I think somebody got in their ear and it's like, hey, give us until the election's over. Like, people are going to start noticing that we have no idea what the fuck we're doing. The last thing we need is the economy to tank because everything gets more expensive, because workers are actually standing up to the government, and to, not even to the government, but, well, they kind of standing up to the government because the government's like, please do this, and they were like, no, we're still going to strike. But, like, standing up to these giant corporations, like, I mean, what's the point of, like, the unions, like, hey, we want to give them time to negotiate, and it's like, you guys have had time to negotiate, you knew when this contract's going to be up, so, like, now even the unions are getting weak, so, I mean, whatever, we're just going to be in, like, a capitalistic bullshit nightmare, and I started writing about it, and I was talking to my buddy about it yesterday. Like, the thing that bugs me the most about everything is, like, there's no alternative. Like, and that's supposed to be, like, the whole point of capitalism, is, like, there's supposed to be, like, where there's a void in the marketplace, something comes in and fills that void. And, like, yes, things fill that void, but it's always, like, it's the same 4 companies that are filling that void, and they're not giving good solutions. And, like, there's no motivation for them to make it. Like, the whole point is competition and making the best product at the best price for, like, everybody to be on the same page. Like, the supply meets the demand. Okay, well, we have a demand for X. Okay, here's why. Well, it doesn't really fix what it is. And since there's 4 companies in the world right now, or especially in this country, they're like, okay, well, that's the solution you have. Like, why do we need a new iPhone every year that's not any different? And it's because, well, that's just what we do. Like, that's what you're offered, and the thing that you're using now it's going to get worse the longer that you don't buy a new one, so you have to buy a new one. And, like, we're stuck in the cycle, and it's not like we can go anywhere else. Like, I was talking to Nick Emeka, very funny comic in Chicago here. He was like, yeah, it's not like you can go to Etsy and buy your own, like, handmade cell phone. Like, you have to go to fucking Verizon or T-Mobile or, like, whatever the one other one it is. Like, yeah, you're going to have, like, okay, you have to get an Android or a fucking iPhone. Like, even the Google phone runs off of Android. Like, we're buying stuff from, like, 3 companies. And, like, anytime that an emerging company comes up in that market, they're bought out by one of the bigger ones. And like, it doesn't even matter about making a good product anymore. It's just like, well, they have to buy something. Like, food doesn't have to be good quality anymore. Fucking this computer is a perfect example. Like, hey, we know they need computers and we know they need them at a price point, so like, we're just gonna make it shitty and they're gonna have to deal with it. Like, sorry about it. Hey, you can leave a review so other people don't buy it, but like, that's not anything. Like, you're just gonna bury, like, since I don't pay to be on there, you're gonna bury it in the algorithms, and then the algorithms are gonna like pump it up to make you buy more nonsense. Like, if you can spend more money on ads, it doesn't matter if your product's good. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, value and quality doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's the problem. Like, we're in the hellscape that is being stuck in the system that makes you have to deal with it. Or you're just like not part of society, and like that doesn't work either. And I mean, they put that as your choice. Like, you can be like not, like, you can either buy our shit or be not part of society. And it's like, well, you can, how about abstinence instead of safe sex? Like, well, that's not even a choice. Like, that's not really, you're doing apples and oranges here. Like, the safest sex is abstinence. Like, okay, the safest breath is not breathing at all. Like, you know, like, that's not gonna be a fucking a thing. Like, oh, you don't have to buy an iPhone. Like, okay, cool. What, like, am I gonna have a home phone? Am I gonna get my fucking flip phone from Samsung that like still works off Android somehow? Like, and not be part of society? Oh, I'm not gonna like do emails or like Facebook or Instagram. Like, and yes, I guess that like nobody's making you do this. You could go into some sort of field where you don't know how to do that, but like those jobs don't even exist anymore. Like, they're trying to make fucking coal miners learn how to code. Like, fine, coal miners are maybe an antiquated job. We don't need as many, but like also just being like, hey, learn how to code. That's just a completely different thing. Like, how that same fucking thing that all like the fucking weird artsy people put, it's like, if you make a fish try to climb a tree, it's gonna look like it's a bad like student. It's like, yeah, if you make a coal miner try to learn how to code, it's gonna be like, well, we can't teach these fucking people anything. Like, you're not trying hard enough. And it's the same as when old people are like, well, you don't have like a real job. And it's like, well, I have 800 different small gig jobs because the economy's broken. Like, it's the same thing. Like, we're doing the same thing, and it's all fucking nonsense. We're like, we need to start over. So like, maybe China does need to win, and then we'll have like whole new different problems. But I don't know. That's a good 25 minute rant about the world. But no, it's just keep your head on a swivel. Like, again, I'm still gonna vote for, like, I voted for fucking Hillary. I'm just like less excited about it now. Like, the more that they talk and the more that you realize like there's no plan behind it, and you're like, oh, this is just the same shit. And they're trying, like, instead of doing some sort of value or something of quality, they're like, what other choice do you have? You have the guy who's going to like make it a living hell forever, or you have us who are just gonna like we're just gonna do nothing. Like, that was there's a comedian, Sophie Buttle, who's got like a line about how the Democratic Party is just like a dude who drinks too much and like can't get hard after you hang out with him. It's like, well, why did you say all those things to me? Just like, quit lying to me. Which I guess that's what they're kind of trying to do. Maybe that's what they're doing, is like, hey, if we don't tell them anything, they can't hold, like, that's the biggest problem with Biden, is like, he promised too much, and then when we did our same normal Democrat bullshit, like, nothing happened. Where like stuff is actually kind of starting to happen now that Biden's like out and dead, and like when this would be like a perfect time for him to kind of get some steam. But I don't know. What else is going on? Yeah. I took notes again. I was trying to be organized since I knew that this was going to be late. Hey, I'm not good. Like, it's so funny that like, so I signed up to work for the Bears, and like my credential for like the game is like, I don't know, whatever. It like got approved. So like I can go to the game, but like I have had zero training, and I reached out to them and they're like, yeah. That'll be like in 2 weeks for like a game that you're not going to work at. Where was my other note? Yeah. Oh yeah, I hurt my neck. That was the other thing. Like, the thing that I can't get over. I I hurt my neck working out, and then like I think on top of that, like I drove a bunch a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago at this point. Like I was driving a bunch, which makes my neck sore anyways. But then I like worked out real hard and tweaked something. So like the thing that's real fun for me is like I think that team sports or sports for children are very important. Not only does it like keep them in shape, get them out of the house, get them exercise, get some fresh air, if that even exists anymore. It teaches them about like setting goals and perseverance and like overcoming battles in like a team environment or even like on their own. It teaches you to like overcome yourself and like never giving up, and it's good for you. It teaches you like respect of your elders, like listen to your coach, or like being flexible and like fitting into a thing, right? So it does all of those things. But right now, the most important thing that I think I learned from organized sports was I pulled my like quad during practice once. Like nothing crazy. And like I think it was like an anxiety thing too. Like I always had like a hard time. Like I was afraid of not being good in practice, which that's like when you're supposed to be bad. So like any like tiny injury, I'd be like, ooh, this is a big deal. And I'm not like proud of it. It's just like a thing that I did when I was 17. And like, so one of the like, all right, cool, you pulled your quad, I'm gonna leave something on my truck. And my rugby coach, who ended up being like addicted to pain pills and like ended up like yelling at kids and like isn't allowed at the practices or like allowed to be around the team anymore, introduced me to like chewing tobacco. Very interesting, very funny guy. But he like obviously had some issues. I think he brought a gun to a game when he was high on painkillers, like like things you can't do, right? But I mean, those are always like the best ones. Like my favorite college professor got fired because he was having an affair with a student, and it wasn't like one of those, hey, I'm gonna have an affair with a student and you get an A if you do this. It was like he was having an affair with the student, which is like already not allowed. But he also lied about his PhD being done. But he was an incredible professor. I learned a lot from him. Love the art, hate the artist. You know what I mean? But like, that's where I got like, I found out about Tiger Balm. It's like, if you like, this podcast is not brought to you by Tiger Balm, but like Tiger Balm is the official pain reliever of, or muscle reliever product of this podcast. Where like it's like Icy Hot or Ben Gay or whatever the other ones are, but Tiger Balm's the best one. It looks like it's a crazy Asian cure. It kind of is. You can get it as like a wild liquid, but I found like the patches because it's like a lot easier to do. But like I found out about Tiger Balm by pulling my quad a little bit in rugby. So like things that I needed when I was like 17 or 18 to get back in the game and like get it done are things that I need to be able to like sit up straight when I'm 34. And I'm not one of those like 34 is old kind of people. Like it's the oldest I've ever been, so like give me a break on it. But like when your body starts hurting all the time, or like when you're like, ooh, this is just something that I have to deal with, like, oh, I wasn't ready to like have my neck be hurting forever. I almost like got it to pop, which would have been like an incredible feeling right now, because I think that's what it is. Like I obviously like messed up the muscle a little bit. That's where the Tiger Balm is. But like I also feel like I like pinched a nerve or something. So like something just needs to pop out of there and relieve. But it is what it is. But it's just like fun to reach an age where it's like, oh, all these things that I like, when you're like, I never learned this in high school. You just weren't paying attention. Like you learned it, you weren't paying attention. Like what I learned from, it's the same thing that you like learn in college, as like how to talk to other people who don't look just like you or come from your town. Like you learn how to be like a human being. It's people training. You get to see different things. Like, of course you like learn stuff, but like the most important thing you learn is how to deal with people who aren't exactly like you, right? Same thing with like high school. Like the biggest thing right now that I use from high school, probably how to type. I mean, I learned that before high school. Probably how to, what are other things that I learned from high school? Like personality matters. Like you can kind of work your way through any system. Like if you find like a good crew of people and you know your place in that, that can help you get through things. But Also, fucking Tiger Balm, great for sore muscles, especially if you're just in your mid-30s, trying to get along, to go along. I would say that's right now, that's the thing I use most. Because, like, when they said that we wouldn't have calculators, like, I have access to so many calculators right now. Like, it's kind of embarrassing how wrong they were about that. Trigonometry, used it, never. I mean, I'm sure I've used it in applications that I didn't know I was doing it, but, like, not useful. Geometry, not super pertinent to me in my life right now. The Canterbury Tales, knowing what a diambic pentameter is, iambic, I don't know what iambic pentameter is. Like, yeah, that's fun to, like, drop every once in a while, or when somebody's, like, talking in iambic pentameter, you're like, oh, that sounds like iambic pentameter, and people are like, oh, you know that? And it's like, yeah, I just remember a random thing from high school. Like, it's not like I did anything good. Oh, like a haiku, like I know 575 or whatever the fuck. Like, those are things that you remember, but, like, I don't use them. But Tiger Balm, I do use. And that's from organized sports. Yeah, I mean, I learned more in organized sports than anything else. So, like, kids in sports, or, like, some sort of organized something. Like, make them talk to other people. People are too separated. And that's, like, I have been getting a good little crew here. That's, like, one of the things from moving around the last, like, twice in 5 years. Is, like, just going in and, like, finding your people early and not, like, trying to play, like, the game as how it is in that town. Like, do find people who are more like you sooner. And that's kind of what I've done. And it's been very nice. Like, I have a nice crew of, like, a stable of people that I can hit up and talk to and figure it out. And, like, are they, like, not as far in, like, the quote-unquote business side of this? Sure, but I think that that's good. Like, if I was, like, hanging out, like, the people that, like, are in my quote-unquote, like, level of, like, the showbiz thing are just kind of all stuffy and kind of have, like, taken their eye off the ball, and, like, it's all about fucking clips and making sure that your engagement's up, and, like, which is fine, it's important, like, we're not gonna go on that rally again, but, like, they also have kind of lost the fun of, like, hey, we're just gonna go talk shit at a mic, like, we're gonna go kick it, we're having fun, we're like talking shit, we're hanging out, I don't need to talk to you about, like, and it's fun to be like, oh, you're gonna be in fucking Nantucket next week, like, that's fun. Who do you know out there? Portland, Maine? Never heard of her. You know, like, stuff like that's very fun, but also just, like, sitting and talking shit and just, like, being silly and goofy at an open mic just because you're with like-minded people, and it's like you feel open and free to have those conversations and, like, kind of dick around and fix something or work on something, and then, like, be like, oh, hey, like, my buddy Devin Glass, he's, like, been a guy who I've been hanging out with a bunch the last few weeks. Indiana guy, super cool. Met him a couple years ago, but now we're, like, working on shit together. Like, I did a mic last Sunday, and he was at it, and he's like, hey, this thing was very funny. And I go, oh, thanks. That just came out of nowhere. He's like, well, this other thing's funny, but it just doesn't have, like, a structure or a point yet. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to work on. So it's just, like, a very nice, like, having somebody there to, like, bounce ideas off of that isn't, like, a fucking dipshit, and isn't there, like, just for themselves or, like, trying to do. And I mean, I had those people in Milwaukee as well. It just took a couple of years to find and weed them out. Where here it's like gone a lot quicker, and it's very nice, and it's very good for the mentals. It's always nice feeling like you're not alone, and that's very fun. And it doesn't even matter if they don't, like, get booked as much as I do currently, but, like, it's fine. Like, it's not, like, I'm not gonna fucking gatekeep who I can hang out with, and who, like, but, like, it's very fun to, like, have, other people who are just, like silly, funny things, but are also motivated to get good in this industry, and don't really focus on the business part. Like, the business kind of figures itself out. And I understand that, like, it's different than it used to be, and you should have to be, like, business minded, and it's a business, so you need to, like, figure it out and, like, work the best you can. But somehow fucking drug addicts in the 70s with no internet became the most famous people in the world. All right, like, the most famous people right now didn't have the internet when they started, and now they're taking advantage of it. And I know that like, the business is going to change and stuff like that, but, like, if you look at every group of, like, people who's famous right now, it's just like a crew of people who fucked with each other, and one of them got on and brought the rest of them with them. And, like, it's a solo project, but it's always nice when there's, like, a team aspect to it, and you don't have to, like, give up being yourself to do it. So I don't know, shout out friendship, that's cool. Since I have my phone, I'll actually do dates at Who is Ray Roberts on everything. I just updated my website last week, so go to whoisrayroberts.com. Apartment show next Monday, Pentwater, Michigan next Friday, Sprecher Brewery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on next Saturday the 12th. Come to that. That'll be a very fun show. Probably hosting for Cactus Tate that Sunday. I'm like, we've talked about it twice, and she's never gotten back to me on. And not like it's not like she hasn't gotten back to me on. It's just like two unorganized people every like 5 days being like, hey, the 13th was the date, right? And she'll be like, yeah, let me double check, and then like never, like, whatever. Portland, Michigan, Comedy Cabin in Janesville, Goonies in Rochester, Minnesota. That's my October. Then I've got 3 dates in November and 2 dates in December. So, like, we need to, hey, book me if you book a show. We would definitely want to keep the ball rolling on that. We're sending out messages and shit all the time too anyways. But yeah, at Who is Ray Roberts on everything. Thanks again, as always, for listening. Share, rate, review, subscribe, and thanks for your patience on this coming out a little bit late. Bye.